All right. Hello and welcome, my friends. I am so excited you decided to jump in and watch this relatively brief training. We're going to discover how to build and start your own recruitment business and make over $200,000 a year on autopilot by learning our exact strategy. Now, a couple of bits of housekeeping before we get started today. It is absolutely essential that we discuss who this training's for and who it's not for. So this training is for the person that is willing to put in the work to get what they want. This is not for the person looking for another get rich quick scheme. Maybe you've tried affiliate marketing. Maybe you've tried drop shipping. Maybe you tried Amazon selling. This isn't that. This is how you can start your own business and actually start a sustainable business that provides real value to the world. It provides value to your clients on the back end and clients value on the front end. Now, you're going to see throughout this training, I am not a professional info product seller. I am not the average person you're going to see at a Facebook ad who creates courses to make money. No, I actually run and operate my own recruitment business, and I know the world needs more recruiters. They need more independent recruiters going out there and solving problems. Because the problem that I see today is too many good recruiters or agency folks are working within large corporations where they can't express their value to the world. And so whether you have recruitment experience or not, I'm making this training for you because I want to see you go out there and solve a huge problem, which is people struggling to find the job that they want, like that they really, really want. And on the other end, companies that are struggling to find people. I want to solve both of those problems. I want to help the person that keeps jumping from job to job find the company that keeps losing people left and right. And I want to help them find that person keeps jumping job for job and help them get plugged into the job that they actually want to be at and will stay at for a long time. I'm only one person. My company's only 5 people. I personally cannot help all the companies in the world. So instead, I'm providing my knowledge base to you so that you can help me go out there and solve this problem. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm creating competition for myself. But for me, I have a bigger purpose and a bigger mission, which is to solve a current crisis. And so please, as you'll see throughout the training, my slides aren't perfect. The way I talk isn't always perfect. I might rant, but everything here will be so insanely valuable that I promise you, you will walk away from here with having the exact blueprint about how you can either start your side hustle as a recruitment agency, whether you have 3 to 5 hours a week, or making it your full-time business if you want to work 40 to 60 hours a week, depending on who you are. And so you're going to have the exact blueprint that we used. Now, before we dive in, one last important piece of information, because there's nothing more that I can't stand, I actually hate, is when I watch videos and the person putting on the training has a 15-minute intro about themselves. So I'm going to give you my 1-minute bio. 7 years ago, I entered the recruitment industry. I worked at a very good company. They did over $100 million in revenue. My 5 years there, I was the top recruiter. I had years where I billed $500,000 to $600,000 a year. When I left, I had billed over $1 million in less than 9 months. That is when I decided to jump off on my own because I didn't believe in giving the company I was working for 60, 70% of my profits when I was doing a majority of the work. So I went on and started my own recruitment business. Due to a non-compete, I had to leave healthcare and I went into a new field, which was finance and hospitality. And I wanted to see how little I could capitalize my business, how little investment I could put in my business and get started. So I didn't buy a CRM. I didn't buy any fancy technology at first. And I got myself started. I struggled for a while because I didn't have the systems and automations to get clients. And to be quite honest with you, I started at the beginning of the pandemic when companies were laying off. So it took a while to get going. Now we had some early clients and some early success, but things really started to take off when I really started to invest in myself. And I invested in a couple of mentors and I learned a lot about marketing and sales as well as how to operate a recruitment business. Since then, we are easily crushing our goals of building 40, 50K a month in profit, that is. And we're going to show you exactly how you can do that so you don't have to struggle at first and you can get to a place where you can bill $200, $300, $400 or more $1,000 a year straight away. This all starts with getting clients. Now, for those of you who don't have any recruitment experience, clients are the lifeblood of a recruitment business. My philosophy to my team is we're always one good client away from that dream month, because you could have 10 to 15 different clients that you're working for in a recruitment industry, and none of them could pay your bills. But if you have one client who provides you 15 jobs, who will interview fast, hire fast, and pay you fast, and retain the employees that you're placing, then you're going to see your business grow exponentially. So we are always in this process of trying to find the right client. Now, again, for those of you that are new to recruitment, what we need to do is get clients, and that simply means finding companies, organizations, institutions that are willing to pay you a finder's fee or sourcing fee to work their jobs and find new employees for them. So I use the example. Let's say that company XYZ is looking for a marketing manager. You notice that they're looking for a marketing manager. You reach out to them and say, hey, if I help you find this marketing manager, would you pay us a finder's fee, a success fee, a contingency fee, whatever you want to call it? The company says yes. The job pays $100,000. You agree to them on terms of 20%, 60 days, and ultimately that 60 days means guarantee. You find their marketing manager for them. They get placed. You get paid ideally within 30 days, the $20,000 bonus that you're owed. If the person stays past 60 days, your money's secured. That's money, your money forever, even if the person quits on day 65. That's how recruitment works. Now, how do we get those clients? That's what we're going to talk about right here. So we're going to specifically discuss how you can use systemization and automation to get new clients fast while removing yourself from the process. The reason we want to do it that way is in order for your business to grow, and this was a big mistake I made, in order for your business to grow, you have to find a way to work in the business less. Now, that doesn't mean you work less hours, but it means you spend more time on strategy and research than you do sending one-to-one emails or making one-to-one calls or sending one-to-one LinkedIn messages. So we're going to use tools to systematize that and automate that from the get-go so that you can get clients fast. Because again, this is a mistake I made. I didn't do this at first. I did everything one-to-one, and it took me very, very long to grow and get your business up to that enterprise level. So the first thing that's absolutely essential is we need to define a hyper niche. Now, for those of you that maybe own a small recruitment agency, this is going to be old news for you. And I promise you, there's going to be some information for you in the next few slides that's going to be paramount. But for those of you new to the industry, we need to define a very specific hyper niche. Now, I'm not talking about calling yourself a accountant recruiter. So you can't be someone that simply finds companies' accountants, although that's better than saying you're a finance or hospitality recruiter like I said I was at first. What you need to do instead is say that you help hospitality companies find staff accountants in the New York City area. That would be a hyper niche. Because just imagine that you're reaching out to a company and you're saying to them that I help hospitality companies fill their full-time positions. They're going to say, great, you're the 20th company to reach out to me today about that. As opposed to reaching out to an HR representative and saying, hey, we help companies like yours find staff accountants like the job vacancy you have in the New York City area. We have a litany of people locally. You can use a specific number using LinkedIn. And we'd love to help you fill your job opening in the next 1 to 3 weeks. Who do you think this company is going to be more interested in? And obviously the best example of this that I could possibly provide you is how Facebook started. Facebook didn't start as the next MySpace. It started as a tool or resource for students at Harvard, then eventually college students, then eventually a larger pool than that, And then eventually it became a tool that your grandparents use, your parents use, you use, and potentially even your kids, depending on their preferences. So in order for you to get started and to do so quickly, you really need to listen to me here and build a hyper niche. From there, you can scale up. From there, you can go from a staff accountant recruiter to an accountant recruiter in New York, Boston, and Chicago, to a finance recruiter in New York, Boston, and Chicago, to a finance recruiter nationally, once you've built your reputation and client base. But start very, very, very niche. So the next thing you need to do after you define this hyper niche is to create your ideal client list. Now, again, here is a massive, massive mistake that I made. I went out there and, per what I'm going to suggest to you here, got an email scraping software and a LinkedIn automation software. What I did is looked up every company that had hospitality as their industry and scraped all of their emails and started emailing them and messaging them on LinkedIn. Problem is, I started spamming a bunch of different companies and got very little replicatable results. Instead, what you should be doing is defining a list of 25, 50, maybe even 100 different companies that you would love to recruit for, who you think could really pay the bills, and focus all of your attention on those companies. All of the tools and resources we're going to talk about next are all going to be directed at that ideal client list. Now, if you see below in the slides here, you're going to see, what does this ideal client list mean? So you're going to look for companies with multiple job vacancies that are healthy and established company with good financials. We helped a company recruit with 4 employees, which isn't a problem in its own right, find sales professionals, and we didn't pay attention to their financials. When push came to shove, we placed somebody with them. They didn't have the money to pay us, and then eventually fired the person because they were scared that we were going to take them to court. You don't want to be in this situation. So you have to find a healthy, established company with good financials, ideally with less than 3 internal recruiters. This is for when you get started. Obviously, the larger companies you can get as clients, but start here just so you can easily get clients on board. And you want to see if they're running paid job advertisements. If they are, they're wasting a lot of money. Companies that are spending money on CareerBuilder, Indeed, Monster, for the most part, are literally just burning money. So you want to find people that are running these paid adverts, and you want to work specifically with people you would want to work with. Do not overlook this last part. I hated every day for the first 6 months because I was working with companies who were abrasive and sometimes downright abusive. It was not fun to leave my job to be employed by somebody else who was giving me directions every single day, even though they were only to pay me for successful results. Do not put yourself into this situation. It's a very underrated spot to be in. There is a million plus one clients out there for you. Do not have this mentality that there's only one client out there and that you need to make this one count because you're desperate. If you do that, you're going to find that you get the wrong clients and that you're not fulfilling the jobs like you should be. So please hear me out on this. Make sure to work with people that you would want to go have a metaphorical beer with, okay? Once we have this ideal client list, the way that we're going to attract them to want to work with us is we are going to create demand. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to be omnipresent and delivering value. Now, omnipresent simply means that we are going to appear everywhere. So we are going to be in their inbox, their email inbox. We're going to be in their LinkedIn inbox. We're going to be on their Facebook page. We're going to even be in their voicemail box. And once you create this idea of omnipresence and you show up everywhere, you are going to become noticed, and you're going to get a lot of no's, and you're going to get a lot of yeses. Your goal every single day should be go out there and see how many no's you could get. There was a story in a book I read, I forget which book it was at this point, that essentially the sales consultant went to a company and he asked them what their metrics were. And essentially what this person found is that the employees were making a certain amount of calls that really meant that they were probably working less than an hour and a half every single day. So he went to this team and he said, tell me what's going on. And it sounded like a lot of the sales team was really down and out about the fact that they kept only getting no's. And so this sales consultant went to the team and said, why are you upset about getting no's? Your main objective should be to get no's. And so he built this whole competition within the company that was to see how many people or who could get the most no's within this company. When he did this, people went from making, let's say 100 calls, this is not the exact number, to 500 calls a day, meaning they went from about an hour and a half worth of work to about 4 hours of work on this team happily, excited about the idea that they were getting no's. And in that process, they were getting a lot more yeses. That's how I want you to perceive omnipresence. When you show up in the email, in their social media, their in-mails, you are forcing them to respond to you. And either they're going to say no or they're going to say yes, but you do it in a tactful way. And you do it in a way where you're creating demand. You're letting them know they have a problem. Hey, I noticed that your director of marketing job has been open for 2 months. Try to do X, Y, and Z. If that doesn't work, would you consider partnering with us and letting us do that work for you? That's how you create demand. Instead of just saying, hey, let me do this for you, start giving them some advice, some counsel, letting them know about recruitment, letting them know help is out there. You can start building demand around your business. Now, there's a sequence to this and there's a process to this specifically. And so that sequence and process, and I wanted to see if there was a slide on the next page to break that down, but essentially the sequence and process that has worked best for us is you send an email, you reach out to them on LinkedIn, you reach out to them on social, you send them emails, and then you make a call after 2 or 3 attempts. You do this sequence, but there's a very specific formula to it and very specific copy. Now, this video is not intended to be long enough to dive into that, but as long as you get started doing this, you can at least get started. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that process and specifically what you should be saying in a separate video. Now, once you've done this, then it's important to start using automation. So if we're going to be sending emails, we don't want you individually sending one email at a time. There's resources and tools out there, many of them, which I can recommend if you send me a message, of which we'll send up to 50 individualized one-to-one messages at a given time, all automated. At the same time, there's tools that can link your email to your LinkedIn. So it sends them a drip campaign from email, from LinkedIn. And a drip campaign simply means it will send them more than one email, 1 to 5, whatever you want to send in your sequence. And it will say, I just sent you this email, check it out. I just sent you this message on LinkedIn. Just wanted to make sure you got it here. And you can do that in InMails. And you can even send up automated calls and text messages to these clients using softwares to find their contact. So imagine you have this huge omnipresent system working for you that takes less than 15 minutes a day to set up, that reaches out to all 50 or 100 of your dream clients every single day and sends them a sequence. So all you have to do is sit back there and wait for the responses. That's what we're talking about here. That's what you can set up and get started within your business. Now, if that's not enough, if that's not enough to get you to where you want to go, you then can build and recruit a 1099 sales force. And what you can essentially do is pay individuals per lead or per client acquisition to go out there and actually call on these clients for you and fill these positions. Now, I'm not going to go into how you can build that because just that information alone is powerful enough for you to start using it. But I have helped not only recruitment companies do this, but I have helped major software startups build these types of sales forces. So it's out there and it's easy to do. All you have to do is open your mind and decide for yourself what you're willing to pay per client. That means you have to understand what's your lifetime value of a client and so forth. But this is another tool at your disposal to use as a 1099 sales force. And that simply means, for those of you that don't know, a contractor force that you pay commission only. Now, What's so interesting about this is when you get the automation going that we were just talking about, when you set up that sequence where you're emailing, you're using LinkedIn, you're using automation to do in-mails and a social outreach and calls, and you have a 1099 sales force working for you, almost every person that's used this has had to shut their automation off. Someone that I trained recently had no recruitment experience, and she came into this and she didn't even know what to say to a client. And within 2 months of using these automations, she had a couple of those dream clients. And she stopped using these automations for a month to start fulfilling those job orders, which she did, and billed $30,000 last month and is on pace for $40,000 this month as I make this. That's where I want you to be by using these tools. Now, once you get the clients, then getting the candidates is going to be your major problem. Actually, in speaking to other agency owners over the last 6 months to a year, the biggest problem hasn't been getting those clients, which will become a problem again soon. It's actually getting the candidates on demand. So if you're new to recruitment, you're probably wondering, where do I get candidates? How do I even find people that would want these jobs? That's probably your biggest concern. But again, we're heading into a market, I believe, where getting clients will be the hardest thing again, and getting candidates will be quite easy. Listing jobs online will start to becoming useful again. It already has. But as we speak, this might be the hardest thing for you presently, and probably will be for the next 6 months until we get to that new transition. So the way you personally can start getting candidates, whether you're leaving an agency and are concerned you won't have a database anymore, or you are new to recruitment, have no idea where to begin. This comes back to your hyper niche. Everything we just said for client generation is the same exact thing we're going to do for candidate generation. All right. So if you're concerned at all about how to do this, just be a critical thinker. Think about the tools, the omnipresence, this idea of having a hyper niche, and plug it in to a candidate generation system. So again, the first thing we need to do is pick a hyper niche, but we need to pick a hyper niche that we know something about. So let's say, presently speaking, you are somebody in finance, and you probably understand what an accountant does. That should be your hyper niche, right? That's where we should start. But the more important thing is, once you define that you are specifically going to be recruiting clients, you then can ask yourself, where do these people hang out digitally, and how can I reach them? Well, accountants are sort of in a couple of different places in my experience. They're on Facebook, they're on LinkedIn, they use a lot of the career boards. So go and meet them where they're at. And the first place you can go is get a partnership CRM. So there's hundreds of these now. I mean, there are so many of these. There's Indeed, there's Monster, there's Career Builder. There's a lot of resources at your disposal that are pretty affordable to use. And all you have to do is negotiate a price point affordable for you with these companies to get access to these databases that they've built that are more extensive than most recruiting firms' databases. So you don't have to be stressed about this idea that you don't have a personal database. You don't need one. You can start building your own by partnering with somebody that's already got one. Okay, so that's step one. Step two is we're going to use LinkedIn automation. My suggestion is your hyper niche is a niche in which you can reach the candidates effectively on LinkedIn. For example, I recruited healthcare for 5 years. Very little success using LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals at the staff level do not use LinkedIn. However, IT people do, finance people do, sales people do. So try to find a hyper niche where you can use LinkedIn automation tools and actually have success using them. From there, again, just like with clients, we use email scraping software. We email people. We just send them emails on repeat. We reach out to them on LinkedIn. We text them and call them using our partnership CRMs. We reach out to them on Facebook. We create omnipresence. And you can do all of this stuff all automated. You can do the emails on automation, the drip emails, the drip LinkedIn messages, the drip text messages. And so all of this can be working for you. Once you've done this, the most important thing I can teach anybody, and it's the thing I have the most knowledge base about, is how to have powerful, useful conversations with candidates. Every single person that says they're interested in a message should turn into somebody that you present or submit to the client for the open job. And the way we do that is you start to reframe what the conversation is about. This call is not for you to screen the candidate out. This call is not for you to spend all day educating the person about the job. The call is for you to get the person to consider the idea of speaking to the organization about the job. And then from there, stepping back and letting them decide if they are a good fit for each other. That is your job. That is why recruitment is sales. Because if you call me and you're interested in a job and you want to learn more, I will tell you a bit more. It's a give and take. But I will transition that call into me presenting to you the idea that you at least consider talking to the organization, because worst case scenario, and use this exact wording, worst case scenario, you can learn more about a position and find out it's not for you, but build a relationship with somebody in your community and industry. Best case scenario, you find the job that's the one you've always wanted. Would you be open to doing that? Would you say no to that? And these are how you have positive, powerful conversations with job applicants. And there is so much more to unpack about that, but I just don't have the time because I want to keep this under 30 minutes. So far, we have talked about who is this for? We've talked about my background. We've talked about how to get clients. We've talked about how to get candidates. And you're probably wondering, well, what's next? Can you dive a little deeper? And so I wanted to do something that I thought would be even more useful than this training. And so, you're sitting back and you're wondering, how do I make this process work? How do I get started? How do I build these systems and automations? And so I've been blessed and lucky enough to help dozens of recruiters build this exact system. My favorite story is the one I just referenced that has just happened recently. It's probably because it's top of mind. Is helping somebody that came from the retail industry with zero recruitment experience. She came from a merchandising background, if you can believe it enough. And this is her fourth month working full-time in her recruitment business, and she's going to bill $40,000 this month. And you can do it too. She had zero knowledge about recruitment. She just plugged in the systems and the tools and the features that we used. And we worked with her one-on-one to get her where she's at. And I want to do the same for you. So below, you're going to see the opportunity to set up a 15-minute call with myself or a member of my team. And in that call, we're going to break down those systems and automations, and we're going to build it based off of where you presently are. This call is 100% free. There is no sales pitch in the call. I will tell you absolutely how you could potentially partner with us one-on-one, but I don't care. I really do not care if you work with us or not. This call is strictly to help you set up your business and figure out how you can get started, depending on where you're at. I can't make a video that shows everybody what they need to do next because I don't know your current situation. That's what this 15-minute call is for. So we're going to show you where to start, how you can get started. We'll share with you how we're partnering with people and what partnering with us looks like and what people are doing that are partnered with us and what they're getting in return. And then you can decide to go out there and do it on your own or partner with us with zero pressure. So please set this call up. Times are getting very, very limited. We're going to stop doing the free calls relatively soon because it's pretty time intensive. But given that there's a state of emergency out there in terms of the number of job openings, we want to help as many people as possible get started on this. But there's no telling when this is going to get shut down. So do not leave this page without picking a time to speak with us. And please attend the call because you're taking that time away from somebody else. So you can have three options from here. Option one is you could leave this video and do nothing and go back to your life, which is totally fine. I respect you for that. And you can go on continuing to live life the way you've been living it. Option two is you could try to plug in the resources that we've told you about and try to get started using the tools and features and systems that we talked about and seeing if you could do this on your own. Step three is you could hop on a quick call with us and learn a lot more, figure out where you could get started today specifically for you, and even consider the idea of partnering with us and getting the help you needed so you can get to $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month. I appreciate you taking the time. Please pick a time to set up a call and we'll go from there. Talk soon.